about one man's crimes. It forces us to examine the balance between justice and rehabilitation. Is rehabilitation even possible for someone with a history this dark? And what message does lenience send to victims, their families, and the broader society struggling with the reality of rising insecurity? And so joining us today to unpack these questions is Joke Aladesami. She is the founder and executive director of the Center for Legal Support and Inmate Rehabilitation, an organization deeply involved in advocating for fair justice and rehabilitation for inmates in Nigeria. Joke, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome. When I first heard this plea bargain, I said to myself, given his criminal history, why? But am I too harsh? should lenience? Can he be rehabilitated? Because if you ask me, I believe nobody can. Nobody changes.
Really?
I believe people don't change.
Oh, that's not true. A lot of people, yes. A lot of people actually, especially those who are behind bars, are looking for an opportunity for them to change. And that's where myself, as well as my organization, that has always been my advocacy. And you were asking me a question about what I felt, right?
Yeah.
I think at that moment, when we got about the news, there was also one of my colleagues that called me right immediately because they know that, oh, okay, you're always talking about rehabilitation for incarcerated persons. What are your thoughts? And I think for the first time, it made me to think about our advocacy again. Okay, now this is someone who the public has an opinion about, and you have always positioned yourself with regards to advocating for rehabilitation of incarcerated persons, right? And giving them second chances. So what about in this case? And sincerely, people do change, and this is also not different. Yeah.
Very interesting. The name Evans, when it comes up now, it's like we're beginning to forget. We're forgetting what transpired, what atrocities he caused, and now he's teaching people and all of that. So I can understand where Judith is coming from, where she's like, how can you now be giving this consideration to say, okay, let's be lenient with Evans? Takes us back to the 80s, the name Aneni. Do you remember it?
Of course.
Oh, you just showed your age.
I already used to.
In any case, and then he was a villain, and then became an anti-villain because of the stories that were told and retold about him, where we felt like our mothers even loved the character, even if he was a robber and then a killer. And that seems to be the case here with Evans. Yes, perhaps, maybe, but I think the bigger question is to our judiciary. The fact that it's taken this long and nothing has really happened, and now we're beginning to tilt the scales into forgiveness. What's that going to do to deter other people when it comes to them looking at the crimes that he's committed and say, if he could get away with it, maybe I can. So if you have to balance rehabilitation and justice, in this case, your take.
All right, thank you. And I would also want to mention that I'm also a criminal defense attorney.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So, that's the best person.
Oh, yes. So the first thing we need to look at here is plea bargaining is not forgiveness. So there should be some sort of sensitization. Plea bargaining is not forgiveness at all. So what is the only thing that is happening with plea bargaining is that the defendant here is taking a plea for a lesser offense, which still makes him punishable. So plea bargaining does not exonerate you from what you're being accused of. It's only reducing the sentence. And I think that idea came up to address the overcongestion of our prisons, right? To address the fact that there's so much overpopulation. Now you're looking at a prison that has a capacity of 800, and they now have like for instance, Ikoyi prison has a capacity of 800, but right now if you look at their population is more than 2,500, I mean. And together with the other prisons as well. So plea bargaining is not leniency, it's not forgiveness, it's not now you can go. And we also have to bear in mind that particularly Evans' case, Evans had more than almost like 5 cases in court.
Yes, indeed.
And they've sentenced him to life imprisonment in 1. He has been sentenced to 22 years imprisonment in 1. The plea bargaining application is with regards to another case. So if he gets the plea bargaining here, it doesn't even take away the fact that there are already pending judgments that already puts him to sentence him to life imprisonment, right? And doesn't take away the fact that he has 22 years still dangling over his head, because they are all different cases, different defendants, different victims, right? It's just asking for plea bargaining with this regard.
I'm also very, very happy that he got the opportunity to actually get a diploma.
Yes.
in prison. So let's talk about that. How many other people are offered the opportunity to also be rehabilitated in this format, get an education, and perhaps maybe come out absolutely rehabilitated?
Right. Thank you very much. So as an organization, like I already mentioned, we work with the Center for Legal Support and Inmate Rehabilitation. So we are so big with advocating for rehabilitation of incarcerated persons. We believe that interventions should be available for them to want to explore. Now, for me, one of the interventions we provide for them in prison is actually educational, we call it educational for correction programs, right? And what we're saying is incarcerated persons should have access, because for me, even if you've committed the most grievous offense, when you get to that point where you're telling yourself, I think I want to go back to school, that point is the point of you saying, you know what, I want to leave my dark behind. And I just want to go on the path of light, or I want to do something much more profitable, much more productive and positive for the society. And I also need to mention that Evans, you know, interestingly, the news has a way, or the media has a way of putting these information out, quite all right. But the truth remains that the scholarship is actually available for every incarcerated person that wants to go. I mean, the National Open University. So it's not just unpicked.
It's represented in the prisons?
You said?
It's
Yes.
represented in the prisons?
Yes. So for National Open University, because they're allowed to write, so they actually write JAMB in prison.
Oh.
They write JAMB in prison, they write GC in prison, which is one of the things we do for them, like I said. We teach them every other day. Like
there are classes given in prison that lead up
we
to these
provide.
exams.
Exactly. Now, if you allow me to make a little bit of a diversion and to share an experience that made us to start our educational program, was because on that particular day, I had a matter in court, and I was representing someone who was facing a murder charge. So he told me, you know, please don't choose this particular date, choose this particular one. And I was like, you should be happy the court is even giving you a shorter date. But I engaged him after, and he told me, oh yes, I'm actually having an exam. And then I said, oh really, you could write exam? Because I was shocked myself. You could write exam? And he said, yes. Oh, so I sat him down, I started asking questions. And he told me, well, we write exams, well, we don't have access to teachers. We have to borrow, we have to pay to borrow books amongst ourselves. We have to, and for me, I was like, if you're keeping these people here, because the statistics already shows that 95% of people will come out, whether we like it. I hope you know that the law is different from public opinion. The law is the law. The court has the power to make its decisions. All right, 95% of incarcerated persons will, this is a globally accepted statistic, would definitely come out. So how are they coming out? Now, this guy, we have to now start our educational program where we are teaching them every day. I mean, teaching them chemistry, physics, biology, preparing them for exam. We recently saw the last GCE exam in female prison, and we were blown away by by the good result they had. And this guy now wrote the exam. He was eventually, as at then, he was already awaiting trial for like 8 years. In 2020, he was discharged and acquitted, and now he's a graduate of criminology.
Fantastic.
Yes, so that's the point. And we're talking about, now, in this case of Evans' case is very sensitive because, of course, there's a lot of public opinion on it. But we also need to know that these conversations around this affect thousands of people. People who maybe they are even there for what they did not commit an offense for, and they're just looking for an opportunity to have the gap, you know, to have it bridged in some ways. And really, in terms of rehabilitation, people actually do get rehabilitated. They just really want to. It's also not easy to commit crime. You know, they're just looking for an opportunity for them to be able to contribute positively and productively. And it's exciting to know that the quote-unquote dangerous Evans, as you know, while he was there, it could have, because you're not mandated, it's not compulsory. You're not forced to take any of this program. But he thought that, okay, let me take this, let me go back to school, let me take this. Then there's some mind change. No matter how we want to look at it, there's some sort of mind change.
What if there is no mind change? Hang on. Evans, this character, I feel like this character, this moniker that it goes by, he's a kingpin. He's very intelligent. To do what he did can only take a criminal intelligence. Like, the mind is wild. That's one. Two, he was able to infiltrate into a community that's highbrow, upper middle class. So that's somebody that's extremely intelligent. And so for skeptics like myself, who do not believe that
we change.
Yeah, what would you say to that?
Well, you know, one of the things I'm going to be very careful about is to actually talk about the state of his mind, because nobody actually knows. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, listen, the language of the mind is your actions.
And in terms of actions, here, his actions already shows that he's changed.
No,
like,
you're trying to balance out the scales now.
No,
which
what
is
I'm
okay,
saying,
by the way.
no, what I'm saying now is actually taking some steps to. Do you know what it means? See, we interact with these people every now and then. As a matter of fact, 3 times in a week we're in the prisons. Like, I mean, on Tuesday I'm still going to be there. So we go to the prison every now and then. Do you know what it takes to study in that kind of situation? Is terrible.
Yeah, you don't have any choice.
Yes, no, you have a choice.
What choice do you have?
The choice here is that you can choose not to go to school.
Yeah, they don't have free time. There's no mobile phone. If I was there, I would most likely read all my to-be-read lists, you know, all the books on my to-be-read list. Because then there's no television, there's no mobile phone, there's no internet. And I get tired of my cellmates, you know, maybe 9 times out of 10, I'm just don't be in my space for too long. And I would like to escape, you know what I mean? So I think books are, they're a form of escape for you. So you don't have any choice but to read. There's also craft that they learn there where they do the, I remember my uncle that used to work in customs, is late now, may so rest in peace. Every single time I go visit, would always see the wares that, you know, the inmates at Kirikiri facility would do. And it was either the fans or the baskets. I knew about Ankara handbags before Ankara handbags became a thing. I knew about Ashoke shoes and bags before it became a thing when people are buying. And that's why I don't buy them, because whenever I see them, I be like, yeah. I'm like, no. You know what I mean? So, do they really change?
Really, I feel, say, if we come from that perspective, it will be denying people the opportunity to second chances.
Okay.
Which we should not be found to do. Because the truth remains that, what if they want to? Because I hope you know that this mindset, which you find everywhere, not just in Nigeria, actually,
right.
because it took them years of fighting stigmatization in places like the United States that is battling with mass incarceration. Like, it's years and years. So I totally understand. We hear it every now and then. But I hope you know that that mindset of, do they really change, is one of the reasons why rehabilitation in terms of our correctional facilities is facing serious setback. Because they just feel, well, they're not going to change. We are all just wasting our time. But for me, as a person, as an advocate for rehabilitation of incarcerated person, I just feel that if they get to that point of wanting to make, because at every point in life, you will agree with me that we're always making choices at every point in life, right? When they get to that point of making choices, let it be available. Let it be there. Let them, okay, I think I want to go back to school. Let it be there. Let the classes be there. Let the libraries be there. Let the vocational centers be there. Let it be well equipped, because you really don't know at what point that's going to happen. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I choose to be positive, unlike Judith. So I would want to.
Yeah, maybe because I don't have the spirit of forgiveness and I don't give people second chances.
What opportunities there lie for these individuals who have been rehabilitated in prison when they come out? How does society accept them or not? Are these degrees, for instance, adequate enough for them to get proper jobs, also noting their ex-convict status?
Right. So the issue of stigmatization, I think I'll pick an example from what Judith said. Judith said she doesn't even buy Ankara bags because she feels that, right? She feels like, this could have been made. No, absolutely no. Let me. So that's why I sounded like, okay, so I take it back. What I mean is, now I'm not buying that thing. You're most likely ripping off people's label. That's why I see that. Okay. You know, that's like, I'll buy now. I buy it as gift for the older women, all the older aunties in my, you know, I don't mean that. Yeah, so there's a lot. The truth is, there's a whole lot of, because we also have a community of formerly incarcerated persons as an organization where we bring them together every now and then. We're providing training, job readiness training. We're providing anger management training, dealing with family post-incarceration. We're actually trying to look at the different perspective, because the truth remains that before we got to this point, there is practically no support for people who are returning. And the truth is, they are returning. I was shocked last year when I engaged some of the officers, and they told me that every week, over 100 persons come out from a prison. Every week. You don't
over
know them.
100 people.
Yes, come out. Well, that doesn't mean that 200 does not go in. I'm just trying to focus now on the level of people that keep coming back, and we don't know them. You don't know them. There are some that could even be your maid, I'm telling you, and you don't know them.
The question now is how much rehabilitation happens in Nigerian prisons? Is it effective? Is it 50%? Is it 20?
So
is it
that's
10?
why. So that's why this conversation is very important to me, because we're at that point where we are saying that our prisons should make provision for rehabilitation. If we now take a turn and say, oh, for someone like Evans, oh no, then it looks like we are putting it, and then we are putting the hole, you know, to kind of destroy the advocacy as well. Mm-hmm. Our prisons needs to be structured in a way that it gives room for broad rehabilitation, because whether we like it or not, they will come back. Mm. So the question is, how will they come back? Mm-hmm. Well, if they're not empowered, if they don't know what it takes.
My brain has been doing this math. You said 100 people in a week, and so when I did the math, that means 5,200 people come out of the prisons every year.
You don't even have an idea. you don't even have an, because they keep coming and it just keep going. And
so if you do that math again, for those who are ingoing at 200, 300, you are at what, 10,400 or 13,600? Okay, well, that's enough.
Exactly.
My head is going, I can't help it. Ajoke, we want to say thank you for taking out the time to join us. Ajoke Aladesami,
yes.
She is the founder and executive director of the Center for Legal Support and Inmate Rehabilitation. We're talking about a plea bargain for the Kidnap Kingpin, you know, and just better yet, rehabilitation and reintegration into our society. Is it a yes or no? Is it time? Can Nigeria do